Hello, and welcome to a video that doesn't really have a sense of direction. This is predominantly a review of We Do Not Part, the new Han Kang book that is coming out. However, much like all of Han Kang's books, there's more to it than meets the eye, because when I finished the book, it's such a culmination of everything she's done that I think the review has to serve two purposes. One is to review the book for those that I think should read it, which are for those who have read Han Kang previously. And for those looking to get into Han Kang who are coming to look at reviews of her new book, to relay what I think would be the best things to read in order to appreciate the new book. Because the essential direct route to what the review is for this book is that it is a culmination of everything she's done previously. It is a book that's almost semi autobiographical by a proxy character, like a character insert. It continues the surreal difference between reality and dreams that the vegetarian goes through. It has and the exposing of South Korean history, of brutal violence and massacres that Human Acts does, and scenes describing power and the stillness of the cold and the snow that the White Book has. So these are three books I've picked out that I've read these two. I've read The Vegetarian twice, I've read Human Acts once, and I've read some passages out of the White Book. I haven't actually read it yet. Overall, I'm just going to kind of go through each of these individual books, what I think the book kind of had, the power of it, and why I think you should read it, and then go from there into the actual review. Probably, I think the first one to go to is Human Acts. Human Acts is one of the most interesting books I've read. This was still translated by Deborah Smith, who also did The Vegetarian. There are now different translators translating Han Kang's work into English. And this follows a student uprising in 1980 that was violently put down by the Korean government. And essentially, we're following a variety of different characters in that event. The book is told in first, second, and third person, depending on the perspective. We're following a ghost trying to find their own body. We're following a boy and a girl trying to find a friend and a relative. It is a horrific description of a real event that was suppressed. This is such an experimental read in the sense of the switching of perspectives, the magical realist elements, the surreal elements of like following a ghost and following these spirits, etc. And all of it just culminates in such an amazing book. We Do Not Part follows an author who has written on a suppressed historical event, much like the student uprising in Human Acts. And so there is a sense of Han Kang being there. Like, I was reading it, and the part of me was like, "Oh, is this?" Because it's in first person, and like I hadn't read the synopsis or anything for a long time, and so I went into it, and I was like, "Wait, is this just Han Kang? Like, what's that happening?" And then, and yeah, it's very much her character insert of someone haunted by what they discovered and what they wrote about, and they became so involved in deep into it that they're having these nightmares and migraines, and it's affecting them. And the book begins with her trying to write and rewrite her will, and she's a very young woman, and that places you in a position of what that author, what that character has taken from what she's discovered. This sense of the end is inevitable. The sense of loss, the sense that there's nothing, it's something as bad is going to happen, essentially. If you're in your 40s constantly rewriting your will, you're not having a positive outlook at that point. Something's happened. And so that's the main character we're following. And essentially she is traveling to her friend has had an accident, has cut off the tops of her fingers. while doing this project, this kind of woodworking project. And our main character goes to visit her. I think this is where the vegetarian gets involved, because essentially she ends up on this journey that is through this snowstorm, this massive snowstorm. And there's amazing descriptions of the stillness and the wildness and the crashing and all of this different imagery of this snow, and the description of is this the same snow? This idea of that there's a blanket covering the land, covering the history, whiting out what had happened, etc. All of this imagery pervades the novel. We Do Not Part is one of the best imagery books I've ever read. It was immaculate, stunning, and such mixed in its imagery that I'll go through some of the examples that I picked up on. But in terms of from there, the White Book is about things that are white. And so we have sections called Perpetual Snow and these descriptions of heavy snow, of sleet, of the weather that is explored in We Do Not Part, that is really it drew me in so much. Reading it at this time of year when there is snow in where I'm living and everything as well, it was riveting and became a thriller at parts where you are trying to make this journey and the snow is just coming down and the buses are being cancelled and you don't know if one's going to come. Are you going to be caught out in the cold? Are you going to be stuck here? Are you going to die? And that is where the surreal elements come in, that the vegetarian also explores the dreams, because we're following a protagonist who has suffered from horrendous nightmares and suffered from migraines, and when she's caught out in the cold, you've got this moment of a possible stepping beyond reality, and you're never quite sure until the end whether you have, because things happen that can't possibly have happened, but it's all played with as if it's real, and so you're unsure what events are actually taking place, what is imagined, what is this, what, is she stuck in the cold, is all of this imagined, is she trying to get through but she's experiencing these visions based on the nightmares she's been having. It all becomes a surreal blur, this blur between reality and dream that was phenomenal as well. And the vegetarian explores that in a different way, much more cut and dry, because the vegetarian, you've got this character who wishes to give up meat, and it's about the patriarchal control over her decisions. She has no autonomy. She has no choice in what she does, and so it's about her striving against this, and she has these dreams where she is like ripping things apart and destroying things, and somewhere she's like turning into a tree, and all of this imagery, symbolic imagery. The Vegetarian is this book that on a subtextual level is about a woman who doesn't wish to continue the cycle of violence, the intergenerational abuse that she has experienced. Her father abused her as a child, and she now has a husband that she sees repeated patterns of abuse in. And so the idea of her becoming a vegetarian is wanting to stop the abuse of meat, stop the abuse of her children. She does not want to bring a child into this world that she believes would result in a furtherance of abuse. And it is a beautifully sad book, split into three parts that I think I didn't get on the first read. There was a lot I didn't understand, a lot that I think I gave it a 3.5 or a 3.25 or something. And then on the second read, it went up to a 4.25. I think it's a fantastic book, and one I did my dissertation on. The imagery in The Vegetarian, the dreams of killing, the dreams of transforming into a tree, this naturalist view, also is deep rooted in We Do Not Part. We Do Not Part has repeated motifs around drawing blood, of electricity, of torture, of pricking fingertips, birds, the snow. All of this has this rich, deep imagery and symbolism tied to it. Symbolism that ties back to other books that she's written. And that's really where it comes into where I finished reading it and I was thinking, this. I finished reading it and thought this was a fantastic book. I'm going to give it a 4.25. And then I just sat and I'd already had thoughts about her other books, like I was saying with Human Acts, and then things started to come at me from the Vegetarian, from the White Book, and it suddenly built on itself. It grew outside of the book. The book became almost imagery of symbolism for Han Kang's career. It became like this final resting place for all the steps that she's taken previously to get there. And I absolutely adored it. I thought there are some brutal descriptions, really horrific descriptions of massacres, of abuse of children, of really unnerving things. And like I've said, I've kind of given the plot throughout because it is such a strange book. Like I said, it blurs between fact and reality and dream. It's hard to really lay down a plot for you because I can't identify what's real and what's not to you because it would spoil the book. If you have read Han Kang before, good job. Uh, you can start with We Do Not Part. I think that you could read We Do Not Part, think it is a fantastic book, then go through, read her other books, and also get the same thing that I did in the sense of like, it would just be the reverse. You'd be like, oh, I see where all of these things have come from that made We Do Not Part. It depends what version of the journey you want to take. If you want to start with this one, do, and then read her other books, and it will provide kind of supplementary reading almost to how we arrived here. If you want to take the organic route, then I would recommend reading The Vegetarian and Human Acts before reading We Do Not Part, because it kind of provides the two central books that I think blurred together. And it's funny because when I read the synopsis in that 2025 releases I was interested in, when I read the synopsis then, the thing I said was that it sounds like The Vegetarian and Human Acts blended together, and I was really excited. And the book delivered on that. Like, if you're a Han Kang fan and you're like, oh, this sounds like The Vegetarian and Human Acts mixed together, I hope it is, then it is. That it delivers on that sense of feeling of those two mixed together with little bits from the White Book, these descriptors from the White Book. It's a masterpiece. I gave it 4.5 stars. The reason I gave it 4.5 stars is because there is a sense of disconnect between certain parts of the book that it feels like three different books and you're flowing between them at points. Like the books change style. Like I said, it goes into more of like a thriller survival. Then it goes into this kind of informative dialogue history lesson type thing, and it goes between all those three in a way that jarred me each time we kind of went out of it. It was one of those things where I was loving it, and then I'd suddenly remember and be like, wait, this is very different to what we were just reading. So that's why it's a 4.5 for me. But in Goodreads, that is a 5-star, and that is the first 5-star I have given to a Han Kang book. So 100% recommend this. Please do pick it up. Please do pick up Han Kang book in general. I'm sure a lot more people will now because she won the Nobel Prize for Literature. Thank goodness, people should. They are incredible books, even though they are very polarizing books. Don't expect to read them and love them. Or like, I don't know, like I said, The Vegetarian, Human Acts are both 4.25s for me. They are books that I constantly think about, but they're not perfect books for me. Greek Lessons was a book that I enjoyed, but I gave, I think, a 3-star. Like, it was a good book, but it wasn't quite for me. She's a very nuanced and interesting writer that I think deserves a second reading on every single book she's written. But that's what I want. Like, she is such a brilliant writer because of that. Like, she just creates these pieces of work that are they're just art. They are like the definition of art. And there are things that you love, there are things that you don't like, there are things you agree with, there are things you disagree with, all there together, doing experimental things, changing the way that we view writing, and genius. So, if you did enjoy, please do like, please do subscribe. Let me know if you've read any Han Kang, if you're interested in this new book. And as always, have a nice rest of your day.